Hello everybody, and welcome back to OMB Reviews. I am the critic who is a cynic. Hope you're doing well, and today I'll be doing a review of the 1950 Kurosawa film Rashomon. This is the first time that I've ever seen this movie. It's been highly recommended by a lot of members on the channel, and so I wanted to finally be able to sit down and watch the movie, and I'm going to give my thoughts here today. But before I do, please be sure to smash that like button, hit that subscribe if you've not done so already, light up that fire button if you're watching over on Odyssey, and also if you want to check out the brand new, not too much as far as updates are concerned, website, ombreviews.com. I finally have an official domain, so ombreviews.com is where you get access to my stream schedule. There's also this point on the side where you can listen to all of the live stream episodes as podcasts, as well as being able to check out box office tracking and other fun things like that. Anyway, let's go ahead and dive into this review. And in general, let me just say that I was very much a fan of this movie. Up until this point, I've only ever seen one other Kurosawa film, and that is the movie Seven Samurai. I feel like it's a film that most movie buffs will have seen at some point in their lives. I, of course, was able to buy that on the Criterion Collection edition when it went on one of the many sales that Criterion has throughout the year, usually through Barnes & Noble, and then now they've extended out through Amazon and other locations like that. And so Rashomon I was able to watch through HBO Max, through their Turner Classic Movies collection, where they're able to get together a lot of older classic films, especially also a lot of Criterion Collection films to be put out there as well. And what I first was kind of intrigued by was the fact that this film was only about 90 minutes or so, because in my head I had always assumed, since the only other Kurosawa film I'd ever seen with Seven Samurai, that all of Kurosawa's films therefore must be a little bit longer films, you know, taking time, building out stories, building out really cool worlds and things of that nature. And so when I saw that the runtime on this was only 90 minutes, I was like, oh, I had no idea that he had actually made a shorter film like this before. And man, this film is absolutely great. For the basics, it goes through a story where there are essentially four different accounts of the death of one of these noblemen, and you don't know exactly which one to believe. There's a perspective given by the wife of the nobleman. There's a perspective given by the bandit in the story, and then there's a woodcutter who gives his own interpretation of the story. And to me, and this is where it gets into the only issue I had with the movie, was there's one sequence where there is a medium who is speaking on behalf of the samurai, who's speaking on the behalf of the person who was dead, who is supposed to be channeling this dead person. And that was the part where I was kind of a little bit surprised by, because for one, didn't realize until after the fact when I checked out the cast and everything that was a different actress playing the character. I was very certain and thought that somehow the wife of the samurai had been possessed, and then that's why he was able to speak through her. And I thought it was the same actress because they also looked very similar as well. And it wasn't until after I realized, oh no, it's actually a different actress. And so I found that whole sequence pretty confusing because they didn't really explain that's what they were going with. It just kind of happened, and I'm just sitting there like, oh, is this woman just going insane? Is this woman actually possessed? Is she actually like demonic? And this is the reason why she kind of influenced and pushed for the bandit in the story and the samurai in the story to fight each other. It was very, very confusing in that instance, and that's only really the only issue that I had with the film, was that specific sequence was not really made as clear. With that being said, though, and especially being able to look back at that in retrospect, knowing the things that I know now about the different actors, and also about how that was meant to be just another one of the perspectives of this same account, I can say that it really doesn't bother me all that much. This is a movie that I feel like I could rewatch several times over, and having known that, be able to appreciate that scene even more so than before, because really in the end, this story is all about what is truth. You know, you have events that happen in history. You have, of course, things going on in even our own modern day world, and you get different perspectives on these issues. You get different tales, different details, sometimes different opinions on what actually happened in a given event. And the question remains, which one of them is true? Are there bits of truth lying throughout them? Do we have to stitch these things together? Can we trust anyone, right? Is there truth to be found in this world? And what's so beautiful is by the end of this movie, Kurosawa has this very symbolic gesture where one of the members who has been caught up in his own lies in this story, giving his own account, but also leaving out certain details, trying to essentially protect himself from being completely honest, because otherwise he would have gotten in trouble with this tribunal that they are all essentially explaining their stories to at one point in the movie, which is represented also as the audience, which I thought that was a very brilliant and unique take on it. But what it shows is that even in this broken world, and even among broken humanity, we can still rise up out of that brokenness and can be better and can help other people. And that is all symbolized in how they find essentially this abandoned baby at the very end. And one of the persons who, as I said, had been shown to be corrupt decides, hey, I'll take this child and raise it as my own. I have a very large family anyway. One more won't make much of a difference, but I am willing to do this. And then as he's walking, there's this really brilliant shot of this of his face as he's walking away. And just the emotion that actor is able to convey about kind of just this embracement of, I'm broken, but I have almost another chance at life to be able to move forward and to embrace something that is true, good, and pure, right? This baby representing like the very essence, right, of something that is beyond corruption at this point, right? Something that is completely pure, and so in that way represents that humankind have these opportunities given to us, right? We have these opportunities even when we've fallen away and fallen so far away from what we are called to be as people, as humans, and how we should treat each other, that there's always going to be opportunities and moments that are presented to us that we can either choose to ignore, like one of the other characters in the film who is hearing the stories initially from the two, it's a priest and a woodcutter, hearing the stories from them. This person, when he finds the baby initially at the end, what does he do? He steals the clothing that's wrapping the child, and right, so still he sees this opportunity, right, of this innocent child, and what does he do? He ignores the child and instead thinks about himself, whereas the woodcutter, who has proven to show his own corruption in all of this, he decides instead to take the child, to embrace that second chance at life, and to be able to move forward. And so I think that there's a lot of really awesome symbolism in this movie. There is a lot here about, what is indeed truth. I think that this is very much relevant not only to how you look at history, so this would have been very prevalent, especially for the Japanese, right, post-World War II. How do we move forward? And you really see in the very beginning, there's this broken down, I think it's like Kyoto, is like this broken down building that they're in, which is supposed to be reminiscent of like the impact that the war had on the Japanese people, and you have these characters saying, I just don't understand, where do we go in the world? What is true in the world? How do we make sense of the world around us? And then it leads all the way up until this end point when they're able to realize, what do? We move forward. We have faith in humanity. We have faith in the fact that mankind can indeed be good when presented with the chance. But of course, it requires us to actually have a choice and to embrace it in our own lives. And so if I had to give this film a grade, I would give this film a solid A. I think it is completely fantastic. I would say I probably enjoy Seven Samurai a bit more because I just like that specific story because of just all the different elements that exist in that story and just the intricacies of the story. And also in its ending too, it has a lot to say about how basically the village in that story goes on living their lives, ignoring essentially that the samurai actually helped them. Whereas in this one, you have a little bit more of like this hopeful style ending where it's like, hey, he's changed, this guy has changed, embracing the newness of life, taking the opportunity that's been given to him to take it with him. But at the same time, I do like those the multiple story levels that exist in Seven Samurai. Either way, Akira Kurosawa obviously is a brilliant filmmaker, and I cannot wait to dive into more of his stories. So a solid A for this Kurosawa classic. But anyway, what are your thoughts about this? Did you like Rashomon? Did you maybe get or experience different symbolic meanings throughout this movie? Did you take the ending differently? Did you take other parts of the movie differently? And also, did you have a similar issue initially when your first time watching it, when they get to this point with the medium of being a little bit confused? As I said, I thought at first that it was the same woman who had given her testimony who has now somehow been possessed through the ceremony, and only found out later that she was an actual medium brought forth before this tribunal hearing the case of all these different people to represent the dead samurai's perspective, which again, in and of itself is already kind of weird and interesting. But what were your thoughts about that? Let me know in the comment section below. If you like this video, smash that like button, light up that fire button if you're watching on Odyssey. You guys are all amazing and beautiful people. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and as always, God bless. And now for a huge shout out to all of my Patreon and Subscribe Star members for the month of May. Ali C83, Andrew Hoyle, Biffer the Hobbit, Brian P, Dion, Divex, Enrique Evangelista, Father Christopher Miller, hail to you, Father. Father Damian Cook, Garrett Searles, Inflamed Wood, It's a Trap Productions, Jason Clark, Jacob Juice, Jeffrey Toone, Jonathan Carney, Laura the Modern Major General's Story, Mad Mitch Dunaway, Mike Jackson, Mr. Peabody and his evil twin with the beautiful hair, On to June, Orange Chat Reviews, Out of Step with Reality, Priscilla Hall, Riff Magos, Rosetta Udden, Steve Glasker, Miss Martin Muses, Theodore Bendon, Tina Bojan, and Tina B. Thank you all very much for being my Patreon members this month. I really always appreciate you. And to my Subscribe Star members, Fast Reaction, Nosferatu Gatsu, Stand For, John B., Perpetual Punster, Mr. Roy, Glinzer, J. Alex McCarthy Jr., Dean Heiss, the new number 2, J-Rod, the Beer Guru, Nevadanji Adams, and ZK Man. Thank you very much for supporting me on Subscribe Star. And if you want your name shouted out at the end of every video and live stream, please consider joining on Patreon or Subscribe Star. And if you join at some of the higher levels, you get access to things like giveaways, where every month I do giveaways of 4K titles, steelbooks, and Blu-rays. And again, more information can be found over on Patreon and Subscribe Star. And at the higher levels, you also get access to an exclusive bi-monthly podcast. Depending on our schedules, we at least get one long podcast out. We try and get 2 podcasts out as often as we possibly can every single month with John the Flick Pick Flickinger. So again, check out more information. And if you are at the Chosen of Valhalla level, which is the highest level available, you not only get all of those things, you also get in your first month a free t-shirt and also access to the Chosen of Valhalla live stream, where I have my Chosen on a stream talking, asking questions, answering questions, talking about movies and anything that they want to talk about. So if all that stuff sounds like fun to you, check out those links below and support the channel in whatever way you can. I do appreciate you, whether you are a member, whether you are a supporter on Patreon, Subscribe Star, or whether you are simply supportive in general, leaving comments and likes. I really greatly appreciate it. You guys are all amazing, beautiful people. Have a wonderful day. And as always, God bless.